All right, welcome to Eric's Splendor Grease Pencil Crash Course featuring our guest, Lesejo. So, this is the Grease Pencil workspace, and great thing about Grease Pencil is it's a vector style drawing. So, after drawing, you can completely manipulate the lines and everything as though it's vector. So I'll show you here. So I've drawn this very janky looking circle, and then I can switch from draw mode into sculpt mode. And what this will allow me to do is use the 3D sculpting functionality on a 2D drawing. So if you press F, that's by default the shortcut for changing the size of your sculpt brushes, and you've got all the different sculpt tools over here. So obviously this one is your dragging, so you can like round it out a bit nicer by like pulling and such. But another nice one is this top one for smoothing. So if you do have a bit of a jittery line, you can smooth it out using this tool, and you can go from a janky circle to something that looks more like a circle. And then, yeah, obviously there's all sorts of other things that you can use for the sculpting. So if you want to, like, start to change your thickness, and then if it's too smooth, then you can do this, which like gives it a different look. So yeah, that's a nice thing is it's not destructive. And there's sculpt mode, but there's also these other modes, right? So there's edit mode, which allows you to go into the stroke itself and pinpoint it. So you can select the different edit selections, and if you select this select mode on the corner, now you can go to each individual vertice of your grease pencil stroke, and you can start moving those around using all your different moving tools. So there's your move, so you can start to move things, and think your scale, so you can work on your thickness as well. And obviously you can do this batch select and do that as well, and just really really get into you can go into the little pieces. Another really awesome thing about the grease pencil technology is how the actual animation ends up happening. So for example, this is your timeline here, and this is the auto keying button. This is important to have it activated if you want each consecutive stroke to be on a new frame. So if I move to frame 2, obviously when I'm in draw mode, then I can draw, and that's my second frame. And then you can see here, this is the onion skin. That's over there. And if you want to switch off your onion skin, then you, on the top right here, you can move between the viewport shading and the rendered. So this rendered sort of gives you a look at how your final animation is going to look, the final frame. But yeah, then this is the easy way that I use for switching between onion skins. So that's how you do your traditional frame by frame if you like want to draw a new thing each individual frame. And then this is your timeline over here, where you can like change the timing of your frames and such, so that you can animate on 2s or 3s or however you feel. But what's really insane is because we can effectively go into the stroke, and we can copy it and we can paste it. So now we've got 2 identical frames. What I can do is I can move this frame that I've copied and pasted. So what I can do is I can say, okay, so this is where I want my start, and this is where I want my end to do. And obviously I can now go into sculpt mode, and I can change this to whatever shapes, because we're doing like a ball that's like squishing or something. And now we can sort of do some pretty insane stuff. So obviously we've got frame 1 and 2, but let's say we want some frames in between. We can select frame 2 and we can move it up here. And now we've got this gap in between our like first and last frame. And what we can do is, if we go into edit mode, and I think we select all the strokes, and we click stroke over here. I'm hoping I'm in the right place. Here, under grease pencil, you can click interpolate sequence. And now this is beastly because it automatically calculates all your in-betweens. So you can save a lot on in-betweening. As long as all your vertices are the same, yeah. So you can't necessarily draw like a new thing, because then it won't be able to calculate the trajectory of those vertices. But yeah, for this example, for simple things like this, you can use this interpolate sequence. And basically how you have to do it is basically just you need to be in the timeline in between two existing frames, and then you'll see it'll put in these interpolated frames for you. So yeah, that's also I think it's fairly unique to Blender and a useful tool. But yeah, that's along a more advanced line of the grease pencil. Obviously, it has, the thing about grease pencil is it offers a lot more than your normal animation, 2D animation offers, but it has the drawback of being a totally different interface. Like, it doesn't share any commonalities with other 2D animation software. So when it comes to actually using the pencil and doing things like filling, these two tabs on the right here, your data and your material, are your two main things that you're going to use. So here in data, this is where your layers are tucked away. So this is where, if you want to have your line art and your fills, for example. So in the default stroke that you get, it gives you these two layers. But yeah, this is how you get to draw things in front of and behind other things, and you use these arrows to move the order of the layers. And so this is where you sort of can select which layer you want to draw on. So if we go to fills, now we can look at fills. So in order to do different colors and materials, that's where the other key tab here, the material tab, comes into play. So by default, it gives you a couple of different kinds of materials and strokes. Once again, the cool thing about this is you can edit it after you've drawn, and you can change your color at any time. Right now, I'm in the pencil. So this last, on the top right here, is the last place where you're going to need to use quite frequently if you're going to be doing different kinds of styles. This is where your different kinds of pens are. So the layers, the materials, and the pens are like the three core things to familiarize yourself with, to sort of be able to catch up to the level of different, from if you're coming from a different animation software. So for the style I quite like the F pen, because it's just a consistent size, solid stroke. Obviously there's other different kinds of pens, and you can customize them and make your own pens. So there's all these settings along the top here that you can use as well. But yeah, so ink pen obviously, and this F ink pen, these have weighted, so if you have a drawing tablet and you want to have variation in your line thickness, these two are the good option. I'm just going to use this one for demonstration purposes. So yeah, you've got your stroke, and coming back to the materials over here and how to actually change colors, is strokes have two key properties. the stroke for it being an outline, and the fill for it having a color. And it can either be one or the other, or it can be both. So the stroke here, right here, this is where you select what color you want your lines to be. And you've got your color picker over here. And you can see it's affecting this pencil as well, because we were using the same material. Yeah, so if you don't like that shade of a color after you've done your whole artwork, you can, instead of having to select and mask and paint over the lines, you just go into the material and you change the color over here. And then obviously the fill adds a fill in it like this. And then you can choose to just have the fill, or a fill and a stroke. And then all of these characteristics of the fills and strokes can be modified as well. So you can have different kinds of lines. So you can have dots. So here it's just rendering a dot by each vertice. Squares, yeah. And obviously for reasons you wouldn't want to necessarily have every stroke have a fill. So you can't just have the fill like this. And so the coloring in workflow uses this fill bucket over here, and then you just select, you double click to fill, and yeah, it'll put it in there for you. Obviously you want to be doing your lines on one layer and your fills on the other layer, so that your line is outside your fill. That being said, you can just go into edit mode, select the line, and then you can either you can use this arrange to bring to front and send to back because it's vector, or you can assign it a new material, any of the materials you have, or you can move it to your layer. So I drew this line in the fills layer, I can move it to the lines layer. Now you can see it's been moved to this layer. I'm still drawing on the fills layer, I still had to select now, I'm on the lines. But yeah, so it's very non-destructive. You don't need to redo your drawing if you make any kind of mistake. Yeah, it really gives you a lot of control. And there's all sorts of other features. So masking can be something that's useful as well. So I'm just going to create a new material. You click the plus over here to create a new slot, and then you click new where I just clicked it to create a new material. And you can check this holdout if you want to use it as a mask. So now if I go into draw mode, I'm still have my bucket selected, so I need to go back to the pencil. Now I can mask out, and it takes a chunk out there, and it's transparent. So if there's a specific region that I don't want to be drawing over, but I'm drawing crazy, if I go back to my lines now, it has to be all on the same layer. So your mask has to be on the same layer. Now you can draw and it leaves that mask. This is also a bit more niche application. But yeah, you can, and then obviously there's all these other additional features as well. So for the fill, you can do a texture and you can bring in your own texture. And this is cool for doing a more stylized, kind of art style, if that's what you're going for. So you can bring in textures like this. You can also put a gradient. So then you can do this kind of soft shading kind of effect. So the gradient is a bit more tricky because it's a bit difficult to line it up exactly, but you can basically use this rotation control if you want your gradient going a specific angle and so forth. That's sort of the key functions of drawing or animating in the 2D conventional sense.